All right. Welcome to tonight's live stream. I'm going to get started with tonight's show in a minute. I just need to let everybody on social media know that the stream is on the air right now. Sorry about the background noise, but that's just me putting fingers to the keyboard to let everybody know that the show is getting ready to
Oh,
come on the air.
oh yeah, I understand. No problem.
All right, now that I've let everybody on social media know that the show is going on, I'm letting everybody know that tonight's show is going to be different from my previous live streams I've done over the last couple of years. Now, usually I'm speaking just to the audience all by myself, but tonight I have a special guest that I'm going to introduce to you guys in a minute. Glad to see you here, Kid Gravity Beyond and Mr. Red. Um, Again, I'm introducing a new guest to the Tonight Show, and we're going to be talking about new black media. And this guest has his own website with his own radio show, Chris and Company. And I want to introduce everybody to Chris Bennett, who runs the Chris and Company radio show. Chris, how are you this evening?
Oh, I'm absolutely fabulous, Sean. I'm not coming in too loud, am I?
It could be a little louder, but that's just, if you want to raise your volume up a bit, or maybe it's YouTube.
Okay, all right. I'll work on that in the meantime. But but I'm glad to be on here. I'm grateful that you took out the time to have me on your broadcast, and I know you was on my broadcast Wednesday, so I was looking forward to this. I'm definitely looking forward to this.
Well, I was looking forward to sharing your broadcast and your radio show with everybody out here. And I want more people to check out the Nice Radio Network that Chris runs on his website at niceradioproductions.com because he's going to have a lot of great content on there. And I want everybody to check out this website that he has by clicking the link in the chat. So I want everybody to know that Chris is getting ready to put together a great radio network with a lot of great content. And why don't you tell everybody about the Nice Radio Network and your reason for starting it?
Okay, the Nice Radio Network started back in 2009, and with all radio shows and TV shows broadcasts have to have a production company behind it. And so when I was coming up with a production company, my radio mentor who taught me the whole aspects of radio, it, it was a joke with me and his then wife at the time. So as I was learning the radio craft and I was under my internship, I did 18-month internship between 2006 and 2008. So as I was trying to put together this radio personality, I would say stuff like you're listening to Nice Guy Radio. And so my radio mentor's wife joked at me and said, "Well, Chris, you're not that nice." And I said, "Blasphemy." So as a joke, when I put together my production company, I named it Nice Radio as a joke, and then I liked the name and it stuck. So that's how nice. So that's how Nice Radio came to be.
Oh, great. I mean, so it's a play on words, Nice Radio. So it's like
That's right.
it's not as nice as people think it is, but it's just a play on words.
Exactly. exactly. And in a way to get people to think, right? So, so there's that aspect.
So, what kind of content are you going to put on Nice Radio Network? Because when I look at new Black media, we really do need content that helps people be able to think and opens up their minds to a larger picture of the Black community. So, I think that Nice Radio Network, as you were telling me about it, will really fit into that and really help people get a better, bigger picture of the Black community overall and the issues in it.
Absolutely. So there's going to be two channels right now. The first one is the talk channel. So not only I'm a radio, just not only doing, a radio personality and producing talk radio, but I'm also going to be doing having a music channel too. And so with my so I'm basically a producer. I'm just as much as a producer as I am just Mr. Chris doing the Chris and Company radio show. So this original channel is the talk channel. It's going to have the flagship radio show, which is Chris and Company. Then I'm going to try to bring back the experience with my former co-host, Miss Sandy Scott, back in Cleveland. We're going to try to work that in, and also trying to also get other content from other Black media producers. So I would love to get like permission to have Professor Black Truth's content on this website, because no one can touch this. No one can touch it. Not YouTube, not Facebook. None of those guys can touch the content within the family of Nice Radio. But I'll get back to that in a second. I want to talk about the other channel that I'm going to start. So the second channel is just going to be music, just straight up music. If there are any artists out there that are looking to expand their listening base and wants to put music on this second channel, I'm all open for that. There's a group in Cleveland called the Night Breed. They're going to be sending me their songs, and I'm going to be playing them on that channel. I'm looking for DJs that that DJ different types of music, and that will also be promoted on that second channel. So whether if a person wants to just listen to music, or they do want to listen to talk, they're gonna have more variety on the Nice Radio Network.
Sounds like you've got a good plan for the Nice Radio Network. What kind of talk radio are you going to have on the talk side, and what type of music are you going to have on the music side? Is it going to be like R&B or hip hop, or are you open to different kinds of music to being on the music side of the platform?
I haven't really thought about that yet. I know it will be Black centric, so that is priority. Now, after a while, if there's rock or I don't know, country, and maybe perhaps, but that's like I gotta have that conversation first before I even think about that. But right now, I'm looking more soul centric, because we know when it comes to Black art, when it comes to anything you've dealt with it, being in the writing industry, where our ideas and our culture gets put on the back shelf unless it suits the man. And so as far as I'm concerned with that, I'm looking for more R&B, neo soul, rap, uh, music that I can put on that second channel. As far as talk is concerned, well, there's the Chris and Company radio show. I'm going to work. The experience is going to come back in some way, shape, or form. And if anybody else are interested with being part of the Nice Radio Network that are FBAs, that are B1, then I would definitely be open-minded to bringing more of that content on the talk content onto the channel. And so, but I'm very specific about what I'm looking for, because I'm looking for like-minded people like you and I, Sean, that are about us. And that's the foundation. And then from there, maybe we can branch, I'd be willing to branch out. But right now, everything is about B1 FBA content that we can call our own, and something that we could be proud of.
So you like to have content with like a positive image and empowers brothers and sisters out here.
Most absolutely, because all the narratives out here, all the narratives that have hurt us as Black men and as Black women, there needs to be a platform that can't be compromised by the Twitters and the Facebooks and the Instagrams of social media, where a Black man could be a real Black man, can talk about real Black issues that affect the real Black community from the grassroots level. And what makes me in particular, I would say viable for this, because of the fact that I am a father. I am a former Marine. Well, you know what they say about us Marines, right? But but still, being in the armed services, I've been married, divorced. I have aunts, uncles. I've got nieces and nephews. I am like the uncle of my family, and so I can talk about things based on experiences, not shooting from the hip, not trying to make myself more than what I am, and so I come from a place where that I've experienced a lot of things. I've been through a lot of things, and I can relate to a lot of people. I do a lot of civic work too. So I've helped out in working for the Board of Elections, doing poll work, and in working with helping people getting to vote and things of that nature. So I've done civic work too. So I'm not just some guy talking just to be talking. I bring a lot of experience. I bring a lot of know-how to the table, and I'm in a position where I can say more than say a person than a brother that has to punch a clock and has to play the game. I don't have that problem. And
so you've been boots on the ground, so you know a lot more than the average guy who's just been working in an office.
Oh, most absolutely. Oh, most absolutely. You don't go from living in Cleveland, Ohio, to decide to uproot from everything where you from to go to live on the West Coast in the desert, and not take the knowledge, not take that street knowledge and education and all of that with you. Absolutely, and I've traveled, when I was in the military, and so there's a lot of things that I have been through, that I have experienced, that I bring to Chris and Company, what I bring to even to the experience when I'm talking with, when Sandy is there with me. And so, that's very important, because what I have to say, and I'm not trying to, how do I say this, without trying to come off being arrogant or anything, but when I talk about subject matters like being a veteran, being a father, being a Black father, and also Black empowerment, because Nice Radio Productions is my broadcasting company, I'm not just shooting from the hip. I'm really telling it like it is, and I can break it down to its very bare bones on what I've been through step by step, and how I can pass knowledge on to the next man, to the next black man.
And that's why I think Nice Radio is going to be a great asset to new black media. And I think it's going to really open up a lot of people's minds to see a bigger picture of the black community. Now, one of my viewers, Mr. Red, wants to ask, would you have one or multiple talk show hosts, or what type of topics would be welcomed on the Nice Radio Network?
On the network,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on the Nice Radio Network, anything that's, if it's anything that like I talk about on Chris and Company, and things that I've said on previous broadcasts would definitely be acceptable. I'm looking for like-minded individuals, like-minded brothers, such as you and I, that definitely has the point of view, that share the same point of view, but told from a different voice.
Yeah.
Because the way you talk about black empowerment may not be the way I talk about black empowerment. We could be saying this, we're saying the same things, but different points of view. You see what I'm saying? Your experiences in New York City dealing with black empowerment are going to be different from mine being from Cleveland. And so, neither one of us is wrong. In fact, just the absolute opposite, where we're adding layers like, hey, you're not alone in this struggle. You're not alone in this fight. And you and your voice could help expand the new black media, what's really taking over today. And so, yeah, sure. I'm definitely for that. No,
that's what I liked about YouTube when it first came on, and I started hearing voices like Mr. Superboy, Mad Black, and Professor Black Truth, is that I could hear from different brothers and sisters all across the country about black empowerment. And as I was listening to all these different brothers and sisters all across the country, again, like Mr. Superboy, Mad Black, Professor Black Truth, Jason Black, and G-Boot 2786, I'm hearing different stories and getting different perspectives. And I believe that diversity of thought is a major asset as related to black empowerment, new black media on social media. And when I look at the Nice Radio Network, I see it as taking that whole diversity of thought to the next level. And that's one of the reasons why I really like the Nice Radio Network and everything about it. So when I look at it, it just, again, that diversity of thought is something that's desperately needed. And I think it's going to be one of the best things about the network as it debuts.
I appreciate that, Sean, because this website, it wasn't cheap to put together, but no. I was determined to make it happen. And I didn't, go and put together a fundraiser or anything. This came out of my pocket. And that's how bad I want. That's how passionate I am about the B1 diaspora. And I am an FBA, but I don't focus on the FBA stuff because that's being handled itself. I love Tariq Nasheed, and he talks about us being FBAs, and Jason Black. And here's the thing about Jason Black. I remember when he started, he was on Blog Talk Radio back in 2009. That's when I had started Chris and Company. So I remember him back then, and then he went on and branched off and started his own like I have. So I've never met him or anything, but I'm just saying that as far as the radio broadcast, digital media circles is concerned, I've been around for a while. I've been around for quite a while. And so, now that it's gotten to the level where we're now making an impact against the mainstream media, And now the mainstream media doesn't have a stranglehold on the narratives that that they want to put on the Black community. They can't do that no more. And when I came back to put together uh, the Nice Radio Network, that was my first priority, not Chris and Company, because Nice Radio is the umbrella, and then Chris and Company is under that umbrella of the Nice Radio Network family.
That's a good business plan as I see it. I mean, you really want to have that umbrella because you want to have a place where you can have different voices and different content, and you can have a place where where there's different, where you can have all this diverse thought. And again, we need that in new Black media, because with new Black media, we want it where our voices are heard. And that was one of the things I liked about seeing YouTube come along and many YouTubers come out, is that we were getting to hear the differences of viewpoints. We never got that in the 80s and the 90s when I was growing up, because all we got was this gynocentric perspective. And one of the things I liked was we finally got to hear from Black men, and we never got to hear from Black men. And I think that's another asset that Nice Radio Network is going to offer people.
Exactly. And see, Sean, here's the thing, man. Back in 2009, during the days when I was on Blog Talk Radio, I was talking about that stuff. The stuff that Kevin Samuels was talking about. I was talking about that, but a lot of it fell on deaf ears, because unfortunately, it was a lot of modern women that had problems with what I said. But you know what they did? They'd always come back, or I'll get an email. Hey, hello, Mr. Chris. Would you like to be a guest on my show with all of my female friends? Okay, fine. And I'll walk into that. I'd walk into that hen house. But what has happened now is that digital media has expanded so much that really digital media in and of itself created someone like Kevin Samuels. And what I like to do with Nice Radio is that I can put your content on my website. If there's a brother out there that wants his show, and he does a radio show, I could take his content and I could put it in the archives. And then in the archives, that brother's broadcast is going to be right there, and it's going to be there permanently. And so you go onto the Nice Radio Network, you click on the home, you see archives, you click on archives, and bam, on the archive page, you got all of these broadcasts. And then you click on one and you get to listen to them. You can listen to each and every broadcast individually, and you can leave comments. And you don't have to worry about it being shadow banned and all that other foolishness that the YouTubes and the Facebooks like to do to Black media content.
Yeah, I'm dealing with that right now. I think I have a shadow ban on my channel, and I'm not getting the views like I used to get. And that's one of the things that I have an issue with your YouTubes and many of these other social media platforms, how they actively go out here and try to silence Black content creators like myself and many others. And that's why I believe that Nice Radio Network is going to be the next step as related to social media, because social media has become a hostile environment, especially for Black content creators. And I was talking about this with Gboot2786 a while back, and it's becoming a problem, because every time we try to talk about Black empowerment, we have people trying to censor us, people trying to take our channels down, people trying to get us off the platform. Meanwhile, if you were talking all of this gender war stuff, or you're going into back and forth or acting foolish, YouTube does nothing to anyone. And the only way we can keep Black empowerment on media, on the internet, I believe, is for it to migrate, because I think there's enough of a base to sustain it.
Exactly. And see, you know why YouTube don't take off the gender warring stuff? For two reasons. It galvanizes a lot of content, but it brings in ratings. It brings in big, big ratings. When I was on Serious Business, when I was on Blog Talk Radio, I've interviewed guests such as Michael Jai White, Dick Russell, the co-author of American Conspiracies with Jesse the Body Ventura, had him on the show. I've had Kim Whitley on the show. I had former Congressman Dennis Kucinich. I've had some pretty serious people on my broadcast. Now, you would think that me having those particular guests, the ratings would go through the roof. The numbers would be there. They were average, above average at best. But when I would talk about a gender warring situation, when All Girl Talk Radio decides they want to be a guest on my broadcast, back then, not now. But when All Girl Talk Radio would come in and be a guest on my show, oh man, I would go back and I would be able to see the actual people that were listening, and we're talking almost 10,000 people. It's insane. It's insane. Sex sells. It does. It really does. The problem with that is when you get into when you keep doing those type of shows, it takes away, believe it or not, it takes away the credibility of the host. Because going back and forth on this male, female, gynocentric hot garbage, it's a waste of time. And the more you stand your ground, hey, you modern women are doing XYZ. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to double down, and you're going to get nowhere. And now you have a hot mess of a show. You have a hot mess of a broadcast. And that's why when I do a broadcast like, oh boy, if I decide to do a broadcast, like that's going to be like a Saturday night broadcast separate from the regular Wednesday broadcast, because that's not gender warring. That's not a priority. That's not a priority for me. That's not a priority as far as what I want to get the listeners to, my nieces and nephews and family to listen to, because we have bigger problems. The Black neighborhood is in big mother effing trouble. And me going back and forth with a knucklehead chick, I don't got time for. If you want to be stuck on stupid, if you think Zaddy is going to save you, then go ahead and lose your soul. But you are not going to take me down. You're not going to take down my friends, my family who listens to me, my listeners, and the quality and the integrity of the Chris and Company radio show and NiceRadioNetwork.com. So I'm not going to do that. And so, that is the central focus of the talk channel of Nice Radio. Now, if another brother wants to come in and he says, "Hey, Mr. Chris, hey, I like to do a show where I tell these women blah 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 blah," fine. On your show, cool. You want to do that, fine. But me, I go back and I listen to some of the stuff that I did back in the Blog Talk Radio days, and Sean, I don't want to do that now, because we're in some very serious times right now, a lot more serious than people think.
Well, I would say that, yeah, we do need to have more intelligent conversations on the air, and we need to have a bit more of intelligent content. That's one of the reasons why I like doing shows with people who like to do more intelligent show content. That's one of the reasons why I like doing your show. And we really are in serious trouble, and that's the problem with a lot of Black folks. We get caught up in a lot of foolishness. We get caught up in a lot of people just saying all sorts of crazy stuff and acting real crazy. And while we get caught up in our feelings in it, we're not focused on more important things like trying to work on goals to improve the quality of life in the Black community. We're
Right.
talking about more heavy subject matter. That's something that I really like doing on my own live stream. I like doing live streams where I talk about more substantive topics. And that's one of the reasons why I like to be on G-Boot 2786's show and other shows where they talk about heavier topics. Because with us being far behind and the community being in bad shape, we really do need to go out here and focus on something a bit more seriously. Thank you, Soul Survivor, for the super chat. He says, greetings, brother Sean, James, and hello, New Black Media family. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this show, because I want to talk about New Black Media, because with New Black Media, we have to focus on some more serious subjects rather than the usual gender war topics.
Right. So basically what I'm saying is, for every 10 shows of serious matter that I talk about, maybe I'll throw in one.
Yeah.
We are.
I think we need to talk more about group economics, and I think we need to talk about things like building Black-owned businesses, and we need topics discussed like that. And I used to talk about them, and I still do to this time. But the whole thing is, I don't see enough people talking about these kind of topics, and it's very troubling.
There's one subject that I have not heard from any other Black content, B1 Black content, that I am going to talk about. And that's helping Black veterans get their benefits.
That's one that I really think needs to be talked about too. I mean, Mad Voodoo Man, aka the Iceman, he would talk about it now and again, but it does need to be talked about because Black veterans have served this country, and they really need that people to help them get their benefits, because they worked to protect this country, and they don't get the respect they deserve.
Exactly. And I would like to hold a workshop in the future. I would say in the next couple of months, I'd say in the next 3 or 4 months, I'd like to put together a workshop to give Black veterans information on what they can do to pursue their benefits, the potholes to come across. For instance, let's say you're a veteran, okay, and you got hurt. You got hurt while you was in active duty. You twisted your ankle coming out of a helicopter, or you broke your ankle or something, right? And you put in say 12 years. Let's say you put in 12 years. You get out and you receive, say, an other than honorable discharge. Well, guess what? Even though you got legitimately hurt while you was in during active duty, you still cannot collect a dime because you don't have an honorable discharge. You would have to put in to have your discharge changed to an honorable before you can even start putting in for any type of disability benefit. That's just one example. And there were veterans. There are veterans. I just did a company commentary not too long ago where a fellow Black veteran in oh my goodness, what state was it? Connecticut. And he was literally he served in Vietnam, was literally turned down because he was Black. And statistics has shown that there was some statistical thing that came out that 30% of Black veterans get turned down for benefits.
It's a shame that type of racism is still going on in our military.
Yes. And then the Black veterans that do get benefits, we're paranoid because we don't know if the government's going to roll over one morning and say, we ain't going to give you nothing. So we got to keep fighting. So even the veterans that have benefits, we have to keep fighting and making sure that we can still hold on to them. The struggle continues. It doesn't stop. And that's what this is about. And I have the platform that I put together to make sure that we don't forget about the struggle. The struggle is all around us, but a lot of us like to be asleep at the wheel or wait till it's too late and then find out, oh man, what's going on?
I find it sad that this is a topic that nobody is talking about, and you can't even get to talk about it on YouTube because their whole system just makes it where this type of video won't get viewed or supported. That's one of the reasons why I say it's just great that you have your own website so we can get this type of topic discussed, because it's a shame we can't get this talked about, because again, our soldiers, we should be looking out for them because they protected us, and we should be giving back to them, and they shouldn't be worrying about whether their money is not going to be there the next day. That's no way to treat somebody. And it just upsets me when I hear this.
Oh, well, I'm about to, well, then hold on to your seats. Now, there's another area that I'm an advocate in, and that's fathers' rights. If you've seen my Twitter, you know, I've put on my bio that I'm an advocate for fathers' rights. I would like to put another workshop together for fathers, especially Black fathers, all right, to teach them how to file their own motions. Do you know that a lot of brothers that have lost their custody cases and their child support cases is because they didn't know how to put together a document, a court document? Yes, the court will tell the person, the father, that they need to file the motion themselves, not their lawyers. A lot of times, the public, I call them public pretenders, because public defenders are useless, they're useless like used condoms. But anyway, they very are useless. You have to file your own motion to get things started when it comes to establishing custody for your kid or trying to establish a child support order. And so a lot of brothers don't know how to do that. They don't know how to do that. And a lot of times, just in filing alone and being the plaintiff in court, you lose out because a lot of brothers don't know how to take the offensive when going up against the family court system. I would like to put together a workshop for that, because that's something that brothers need to learn how to do. You know how many times I've had two brothers cry, I mean boo-hooing, because they lost custody of their children. That was and man, talk about wanting to do something to somebody. And I remember raising hell when I was living in Cleveland at the time, where they called themselves putting together this father's rights thing, whatever, like some type of seminar, but it was like one of those luncheons where the local politicians were taking photo ops, like they did some spectacular shit, right? And so as this whole father's initiative conference was going on, right? There was no legal representation. So what was the purpose of putting something together like this? And there were no lawyers or any type of legal representation for fathers there to seek any help. And they just laughed it off. Well, they didn't laugh it off, but they acted like, well, we couldn't get any legal stuff this time, but maybe next time we'll have it. It's amazing how do I put this, man? I come from Cleveland, Ohio, foot in your ass, USA, where it's all about survival, bro. And I know what it's like. I know how I was treated when I had to really struggle, and I'm raising my son, and I got my daughter in another state. I know all about that, and I know how I was treated. And I know how like these organizations, these agencies, how they deal with black men, say the child support department and the welfare department and these guys, and how they just belittle you as a man. And then they'll say, well, we don't have the resources to help you, but yet they don't do anything to help you when it comes to taking your ass to jail. And so I I bring those experiences to the table. And that's something that this show, the Chris and Company radio show, is going to get that out there. And nobody can shut me up. Not Twitter, not Facebook, not nothing. In fact, YouTube, I'm gonna pimp them, because my thing is I'm going to start taking clips of my broadcast and putting them on YouTube, and then galvanize and get people to come over to the Nice Radio Network so they can read your blog, Sean. They can read your blog, and then they can click on your blog and they can purchase the Woman Crisis that you're advertising right now. Also get to listen to our interview that we did on CNC. And then there's other broadcasts on there that they can listen to, and they can leave comments and all of that. And like I said, if you want to put together a radio broadcast and you want me to broadcast it on the network, I'm definitely open for that. But I'm telling you, we are in some serious trouble, and as a race. And if people and brothers don't start waking up, and sisters, all right, we're going to be a permanent underclass, just like what Dr. Claude Anderson have been trying to tell us.
Yep, that's what I've been hearing. That's what I heard from another YouTuber, Mad Voodoo Man, about 10, 15 years ago. He was talking about how black folks are going to be in the middle of a permanent underclass. And he was talking about how we're not really focused on what we need to be focused on. A lot of us are, again, in this gender war foolishness going back and forth, and we're not focusing on important things like group economics, focusing on picking our politicians, focusing on more substantive goals. And that's a big problem I'm seeing with many black folks who, as I've seen, had their head in the sand for a good long time, and they haven't really utilized social media the way other groups have utilized social media. I mean, I look at other groups, they have been utilizing social media to build economic and political power. I mean, we started to finally see some black people come out of that blue party mindset and voting straight down the blue ticket. When the late David Carroll was alive, that was one of the things I said he had a major impact on. But we're still not doing enough, and it's a real problem because black folks, again, we're just far behind and we're not taking anything seriously.
Yes, absolutely. And even though we're getting better, it's not enough. And I'm only just one guy.
Yeah.
And so Chris and Company, let me give you a brief history of Chris and Company. Chris and Company is entering a second era. So from 2009 to 2014, that was my first Chris and Company run. In late 2013, my mother had passed away, and
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. She had passed away, and then my priorities as far as doing radio, life had happened. Life changed. So 2004, 2005, 2014, 2015. And then kind of like in 2016, I got back into radio, like in drips, like in little drips and drops. And then 2016 came around, and I was on the Cleveland Talk Sports Roundtable on voiceitradio.com. And 2016, I was kind of getting back into radio slowly but surely. And then 2017, me and Sandy Scott, we started the experience at voiceitradio.com. and that we was at voiceitradio.com. We did the experience for a year and a month. Out of 56, this is facts, Sean. Out of 56 weeks of doing the experience, we were the #1 radio show 40 weeks. Yeah, we were that good. We were the number one internet radio show in Cleveland for 40 weeks. So much so, we got interviewed by the local news station in Channel 5, WEWS Channel 5, on our success. And we were interviewed, and we got to talk about the radio show and how, and the direction that digital media was going in. And so I did that, and then I relocated. I relocated out here in the desert. Love it out here. And I knew that I could do radio out here. I can rebuild it, make it bigger, better, and blacker, which it is right now. And now, because of technology, I could bring back the experience. While Sandy's in Cleveland, I'm here in Arizona, and just like you and I are doing, I'm here in Arizona, you in New York City. So technology has really came a long way back then. But that first era of doing Chris and Company, from 2009 to 2014, it was more like Chris and Friends. So friends of the show would come on, and the problem that I had was not so much what was being said when I was broadcasting over the air, but it was a little bit of jealousy and jealousy, envy. And there was a particular person that was on Chris and Company that was jealous of me. So he thought he could do a broadcast, and then he wanted to take some of my people, and he failed miserably. And so when putting Chris and Company together back this time, and Sean, one of the reasons why I wanted you to be a member of the new Chris and Company is because I want to bring in people that are doing the work, that they're bringing things to the table. They're bringing something to the B1 media, and not just someone that has their hand out. And I think that was a mistake, because the loser that I had on Chris and Company in the first era, nobody would have known nothing about him if it wasn't for me. So instead of having a parasite on my team, I want to network with other brothers who are doing their own thing. I don't need you, you don't need me, but what we can do is that with working together, we can both expand our own individual platforms, and then also at the same time expand and get the word out to more people on what we're doing together.
That's a very good approach, because I remember what happened with Free Speech Avenger, which was a website started by a YouTuber named Brian Solange. And I remember seeing that site just basically wind up getting undermined because they weren't working with like-minded people. They just were giving channels to just about anyone. And I remember that whole site basically falling apart because they had a guy on there who was mentally ill. His name was Frank James, and he participated in a mass shooting, and it led to one of the sites. This again was an independent owned website being undermined, and all of that good work, all that content just went away. So it's very important to vet the people you're getting involved with, because these crabs in a bucket, they're just people you got to watch out for.
Exactly. And that's one thing I hate. There's a few things I hate. I hate racism. I hate poverty. But the one thing that I hate racism more than anything. That's number one. Uh, but one B would be definitely the crabs in the barrel mentality. The crabs and barrel mentality, the crabs in the barrel environment. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And that's what Chris and Company is all about. Is trying to get is to have people get out of that crab in the barrel mentality, get out of their crab in the barrel environment, get out of that crab in the barrel dystopia that that other people have a that other people have no problems with. And that's very important. And even there's even crabs in the barrel here on the internet, bro. There are lots of it.
Oh, I've seen
And
them. I've seen them. There's a lot of guys who just hate other black people because we're sitting up here talking intelligently. I mean, and they're not these racists. They're other black people who hate the idea of seeing another black person who is just having an intelligent conversation. They don't like seeing it because it just makes them see what they could possibly be, and it just makes them mad that they have to apply themselves.
exactly. See, I'm looking to work with people who can check their ego at the door, who aren't who ain't thinking about themselves, who don't have their hand out. I don't want those type of people. Go away. I'm looking for brothers who are like, hey, this is what I bring, and this is what I bring to the table, and how what I bring to the table help what you're doing, Chris? And those are the type of relationships I'm looking for. I don't need egos. All right. I don't need it. And another thing that bothers me, well, what about the pie? What about the pie? What about the pie? What do you mean? What about the goddamn pie? Well, you're gonna get this much and I'm gonna get this much. I don't even want to have that conversation. Let's build the goddamn thing first. Before we even talk about any pies, before we talk about who did what, build the damn thing.
Because if we don't build it, then we're not going to get anything.
Exactly. And yeah, you know what? If you build it, they'll come. I believe so. I really do. Not just because James Earl Jones said it. I really do believe that. And so that's the type of black men that I'm looking for to do business with. That check your egos at the door, have something in hand. Let's sit down and we ain't gonna talk about who gets what and where and why. Build it first, put it together as a machine, and then we can talk about pie. But even then, it shouldn't be about that. I'm not getting paid for this, Sean. I'm not getting paid for this. I just did the first launch of the Nice Radio Network and the Chris and Company radio show January 4th. And I didn't put this together with my hand out. Because my thing, why do I do this? Is because of the passion that I have in my heart and soul. I love doing this. I don't know if you've listened to my other shows, but what do I start out with? Life is worth living, and this radio show is worth doing. I mean that. That's it. That's some hellified passion for a black man like me to say that. Yes, I love what I do. And whether I make a dime or I only have 2 or 3 people listening to my broadcast, I'm going to keep going.
You remind me of myself when I started SJS Direct. I mean, I remember in 2008, I had just lost my job and the Most High told me to keep going. And I wanted to keep going because I wanted to go out here and write positive stories about the Black experience and Black culture, because we weren't getting them from mainstream publishers. And I didn't make a lot of money. I mean, I lost like $1,000 two times at the Harlem Book Fair, and I struggled for a while, and I'm still struggling to a point here. But I write books because I'm passionate. I want to give people a richer picture of the Black experience than what they're getting in the mainstream, which is just absolute garbage these days. And I want to show people that there are Black people out there who are intelligent, Black families out there, Black people who are business owners, Black people living all kinds of different lives. I mean, that's what I brought with SJS Direct, and I wanted to branch out and further expand it. And I wanted to do things like what I did with the John Haynes comic book last year. I want to give people all kinds of content because I want Black people to get a bigger picture of the Black culture and the Black experience. And again, I do this out of my own pocket, just like you did the Chris and Company radio show out of your own pocket. I've been doing this again since 2002. I had $600 from in the bank. That's all I had in 2002 when I published my first book. Took 200 of that 600 to do that. And again, it just shows how passionate I am about it. And I understand where you're coming from, because we come out of our pocket for this. And again, it's out of love for what we do. And for me, it's also about love of our people.
Exactly. And one of the things I love about you, and because I do it too, especially when people listen to my commentaries, Black people need to learn more about narratives. We need to, and that's what I like about your YouTube cast. You talk about narratives, and you talk about how narratives from the mayonnaise mainstream media, how their narratives are used against us in plain sight.
Yeah.
And how we need to, and then it's our responsibility that when those narratives that the mainstream mayonnaise media likes to spew out there, that we counteract those narratives. Because that's what has hurt the Black community since the 60s. The narrative of that damn feminist movement and the burning of the bra, which matriculated to the sexual revolution of the 70s and 80s. Then all the Oprah, I am woman, hear me roar hot garbage. And then the Maury and the paternity and the paternity shows and paternity court and all that. And these hoes going to court pinning babies on men that ain't even theirs. But you can't say nothing about them. Isn't that amazing? Where you can't criticize the very same gynocratic modern woman who tries to put a pin a baby on you, and you're not supposed to react to her hoishness. And that was the narrative that was put out there for a long time. And we don't have that. And now we've got 2 generations of females that have never had to be unaccountable for their actions. And they getting a wake-up call today. They're getting it, and I love it. They're getting their just desserts. That's what happens when you go against the universe. That's what happens when you call yourself being living life through the lens of unaccountability.
They're reaping what they sowed for 60 years of feminism, and they're also reaping what they sowed as related to destroying the Black American family.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to say this because I have a girlfriend, and you know what brings us together is what we value. We value the same things. And I would tell any brother out there right now, if you can find you a woman that values that have identical values that you do, and she's living her life through those same values, you got you a good woman. But make sure she don't have any kids, because you don't want that headache.
No, you don't want to deal with that. And that's what I said in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, that core values are the most important thing. It's the values and the moral position of the woman you get involved with, because that's going to set the direction for your relationship. And because we've had a breakdown in the family, we got a lot of people who don't even know how to have relationships because they've watched a lot of this gynocentric media, and they've got a lot of the girls looking for these beta males and not understanding that that's not a man. That's not a guy who's looking to lead. That's not a guy looking to build. And yeah, he'll make you feel good for a moment, but you're not going to be able to grow that into a healthy relationship.
No, you're not going to be able to do that at all. And you know, we've all made mistakes in life. And so, you know, I'm not going to sit here and be like, you know, I didn't make any mistake. But I will say this, I learned from them. And then especially when I had to pursue to establish custody for my son, I found out the hard way that I was in this alone. And then I had to learn how to file a motion. Then I had to learn how to take that motion and get that motion and then get it, what is that? Notarized. Get that motion notarized. And then take it to the file, take it to the clerk of courts and get that, and then have it dated and stamped and have it set in so the judge can look at it and set a court date. And that is a very intimidating process, Sean.
You know, I know, because these courts are very gynocentric. They're very hostile towards men. They're very misandrous. I've heard about the horror stories in family court, and I think it would be a great show if you did the one about them, about teaching men how to file motions, because so many men, they just are in a very upset emotional state. A lot of people don't know the trauma of having to go through a divorce or going through a custody battle. They don't know how much pain the man goes through because he's having his character attacked not only by the baby mama, but also by the court, where they've made these generalizations. Oh, he's a no good man. He's a no good guy. And again, all reinforced by our mainstream media that pushes the idea, oh, it's deadbeat dads. Again, people create these narratives about men, but there's a lot of guys who truly care about their kids, but nobody want to talk about that because they want to push the victim narrative towards women because it's easy money for them, because they want them to be the consumers who go out here and buy all the products.
Well, you just said it. So when you was on my show, you said that you had wrote a book and to counteract that man hating black man hating narrative, and you went to a publisher and you got shot down, right?
Yeah, when I did books like The Temptation of John Haynes and Spinsterella, and I didn't even go to submit to Spinsterella, but when I submitted The Temptation of John Haynes, I just got so much hate because they didn't like the idea of a black man having power. And also when I did A Recipe for Success, they just didn't like it because I was presenting a black man having power. And they also didn't like the idea with A Recipe for Success that I was presenting one of these alphabet guys as a bad guy. So a lot of people don't want to see black love in their media, and they don't like seeing those kind of stories where you're seeing a black man taking responsibility, because the white supremacist wants you to see the irresponsible and incompetent black man out here, the black man who don't do nothing. And again, that narrative has been a lie for years, and it's a lie that a lot of people tell, oh, he's a deadbeat dad, he's a no good guy.
Right. But they do that because they want to listen, there's a lot of white deadbeat dads too, but that takes the shine off them. That's all that is. It just takes the shine off them. So yeah, when you have a white controlled media apparatus that'll give a harpy like Oprah and Rolanda and a mother sister gal bull crap shows back in the 80s and 90s to push that deadbeat black man narrative, then it takes away the attention off the white deadbeat dads. And so now and then it turns the black women against us.
Yeah.
All right. Because they'll think, well, you know, hey, none of these good black men around here, so I'm gonna go hook up with a white boy. Okay. Them Woody Woodpecker Woods aren't no better than us. Those guys those guys
What
are
they
just as, go ahead, go ahead.
what they do is get with the exact same guy in a different color.
Right. Different color, same problems. That's what always end up being. That's what it ends up usually being any damn way.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another thing. Being hooking up with someone of a different race should never be about race. It shouldn't. I'm not
No.
going to be with a white woman because I'm mad at black women. That is not, how do I put it? That is a very low, uh, um, very emotionally weak cop out. Is that a good way of saying it? Basically, it's like an emotional cop out.
I would have to say so.
If you're going to get involved with someone of another race, it should be genuine, but at the same time, if that person is not looking out for your best interest, and their philosophy is, well, yeah, I like you, sister, but I don't like those brothers, then eventually he's not going to like you, and that's not a reason you shouldn't get involved with someone outside your race. I've had a white girl tell me, well, I love you brothers, but them sisters, them black girls, they're just so. And I was like, well, what about them? Well, they just got the attitudes and blah 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 blah. And so what do you, and I said, and how has your attitude been? Well, every time I walk up in the club with Montavious, the girls just be looking at me. Okay, so why would you put yourself in that situation? Why would you put him in that situation? If y'all going to be together, be somewhere in an environment where you don't have to worry about that. You have to worry about the confrontation. It sounds like to me you did that on purpose. And if you do that with him, you do that with me. And I've had that, and it's just like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. I'm not going to hook up with a white woman to give black women the middle finger. I will hold my sisters accountable that they need to get their shit together. But outside of that, it shouldn't, hooking up with somebody from another race shouldn't be about disrespecting your own. Now that's some Candace Owens tacky trifling crap right there.
Yeah.
No.
It is. I'm going to take a minute to call out a super chat from Yak Diesel. Sure. He's one of my longtime viewers. He says, finally started reading The Woman Crisis, and he's halfway through. He calls it my best nonfiction work. Thank you, Yak Diesel, for the super chat, and thank you for the kind words about The Woman Crisis. I wrote that book to really help everybody understand why American women are acting the way that they do. And a lot of American women, they're dysfunctional because, again, they were raised to be feminists and not women.
Well, they were lied to.
Yeah, they were all lied to.
They were lied to. The feminist movement was a joke back in the 60s, in the late 60s. It was a joke. The reason why the feminist movement couldn't have happened without black women. Why?
No.
Because the white women did not have the numbers. They did not have the numbers to make any type of significant impact. So what the white feminist woman did, she went to black women and said, your plight is my plight. Your struggle is my struggle. And we need to come together. And what happened was when our leaders got killed, Malcolm, Martin, Fred Hampton, the Black Panther movement itself got destroyed from within. A lot of black women were vulnerable because there were no leadership. There were no black leadership. So feminists came in and they said, come with us, women power. And once the white women when the feminists got their power, they discarded the black women and then said that it was the men's fault that kept them down.
Yeah.
And then all through the 70s and 80s and 90s, generation. I mean, I have an ex-girlfriend where her mama was on welfare for her whole life. Then now she's on welfare for her whole life. And now her daughter is on welfare. That's insane. But black men are the problem.
But black men were not allowed to even be with their own families because they bought into the whole feminist narrative.
Had my ex-girlfriend followed me, had been with me, she wouldn't have those problems. All right. She'd be out here she'd be out here in my house in the desert, living nice. But no, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, stupid for you. And this is where we're at. The whole feminist movement was a lie. That's all it was. Played black women, and now you know what happened to those feminists like Gloria Steinem and them? They're rich. They're well off. They got their money. They're doing fine. And a lot of the sisters now, third, fourth generation welfare recipients. And for what? Because there ain't no good men around. That is a lie. You stepped over a lot of those.
There's plenty of good brothers out here, but they don't. A lot of those the thing is that they have been bought into the feminist ideology, and they can't see the good man because they're looking for a social construct from corporate America, Madison Avenue, and Hollywood. They're not looking for a man. They're looking for a social construct that doesn't exist.
Oh, Sean, man, let me tell you something. I had ex-girlfriends as young as 13 years old turn out to be pregnant. All right. They would leave me because, well, you're too nice, Chris. You're a nice guy, but you know, I just like this other guy. And now I'm pregnant. I'm going to have his baby. Okay. And never paid me no attention back in my teenage years. Didn't pay no attention to me in my 20s and 30s. And now 400 pounds and six kids later, I go and pump gas at the gas station. And here comes some fat slob in my face talking about, hi, Chris. Oh, who the hell is you? Don't you remember me back in high school? No. Well, yeah. Well, here's my phone number. Here's my work number. Here's my email address. This is my Facebook tag. Oh, what? Huh? What? Hey, what? You know, and you know, I'm throwing that in the trash as I should. And so now, you know, I'm retired, thanks to the United States Marine Corps. And I'm in a position where I can speak the absolute truth, most absolutely. And I'm not worried about a Twitter or a Facebook. I'm not worried. I don't need them. I have my website. I am broadcasting. I am literally talking to you right now from my website. And right now, just like we're having this interview, if people would have logged on to niceradionetwork.com right now, they can hear our interview.
That's one of the best things about the direction you're taking New Black Media, because this is where we need to go, as I see it, as a people, is we have to start migrating from these social media platforms, which are owned by other people, and building our own platforms where we can control the content so that we don't have to deal with these hostile policies like YouTube has against Black content creators. I mean, a lot of us are just speaking our own mind, and then we get flagged, we get attacked, and we can't really speak our own mind. And I see that's one of the worst things about what's going on with these policies at YouTube. And that's why we have to start making that migration. Because when I look at the internet, people migrate from one platform to another one, and they migrate because they want to be able to have that creative freedom. They want to be able to go out here and express themselves freely and talk about topics that are far more important than those that are just dictated by the YouTube algorithm.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Professor Black Truth, he got shadow banned and he doesn't even cuss.
No.
He doesn't even cuss. And they shut him down. I know I don't stand a ghost of a chance. and it's not, that goes to show you it is about race. It is about nothing else. It's about race. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pimp YouTube. You talk about how I'm going to pimp YouTube. I'm going to take clips of previous Chris and Company broadcasts and only put them on there. and I'll, like a 15-minute snippet, put it on YouTube, and then promote Nice Radio Network while that snippet is going, while that clip is going. And then if you want to listen to more content, if you want to listen to the rest of this broadcast, come over to niceradionetwork.com and listen. And so I'm going to use YouTube like a modern woman, where I'm going to just put up a clip and then want to get listeners to come over to the website and listen to the entirety of the broadcast, because it don't make no sense of me putting a whole broadcast of Chris and Company on YouTube, especially if I know that YouTube is going to take it down. If they'll take down Professor Black Truth, they're going to take my stuff down. And the hard work, like, people don't understand that the hard work that goes into putting together the show. Like, if you've listened to my broadcast, Sean, they're formatted, they're structured. The topics and the topics that I talk about, they're organized. That takes work, man. A lot goes on behind the scenes putting together the show, leading up to the show. And then you got assholes like YouTube that want to take it down because they're in their racial feelings. I don't got time for that, man. This is hard work, and I'm not gonna let it be taken down because racist McWhite boy doesn't like what's being said and can take it down. That's why we got to get off these platforms and start building our own.
Yeah.
And if there's any particular content that you want to have on the Nice Radio Network, I'm 2 emails away. You got my business email, you got my personal email. You can get a hold of me, and you say, hey Chris, it's possible we can get this on the website and I can promote it. I'm like, sure, Sean, no problem, and do just that, because it's hard work, man. It's hard work when you put together your YouTube, getting your YouTube content together and getting everything out that you want to say on the subject matter at hand, only for YouTube to be outright racist like they are. And that's why platforms like Facebook is dying, man. I was kicked off Facebook for the longest. I just went on there and I just put a new profile, Chris Radio, by the way. You can find me on YouTube. Facebook. And it's like a wasteland almost. People that, friends that I had on there, they're and I look at their last postings. Some people hadn't posted since 2018. So, that's literally like, so I want Nice Radio to be a new digital black media hub where people can come to.
What's up, G Boots 786? Glad to see you here. You guys want to sub to G Boots 786's channel? I usually do a live stream with him every Thursday, so you can sub to his channel by clicking this link. So, yeah, we definitely got to have our own platforms, because again, YouTube just really mistreats, especially black content creators. I even confronted some of these Google employees about it and called them out, and they sat there and tried to deny it. But we see the evidence, we see the shadow bans, we see the reduction in our views, we see how the algorithm is only poised to push gender war topics. We see it putting a lot of stuff out here that is detrimental to black people. But whenever you start talking about black empowerment, group economics, you start talking about tangibles, that's when they start having issues with you And again, these are guys who are not using any profanity, like Professor Black Truth, who is one of the most articulate brothers I have seen on social media,
Mhm.
and never used any profanity. But a guy who's in his profanity about gender war, these are the guys they're not upset about, but they get in their feelings about intelligent black men. They go out here, especially about intelligent black men, and look to take our channels down. And again, that's why I say it's just time. While we want to stay here on the YouTube platform, some of us, the whole thing is it's better to have your own site, have your own content, and you can go out here and build your own platform without any sort of interference from any of these little whiny people who they get butthurt when they hear a black man speaking intelligently.
Right. I'm 52 years old. I'm a grown ass man. I think I've done enough diplomacy and walking on eggshells and all of that. There comes a point in time in a man's life. Thank you. Steve. There comes a point in a man's life where he just say, you know what? I'm standing on my square. I'm crossing this. I'm at the Rubicon right now, and I'm crossing that goddamn thing. And whether the Candace Owens of the world don't like it, or the David Dukes and Richard Spencers of the world don't like it, then you know what? All of y'all can kiss my black ass. And it has to come to that. You have to have that inside of you, because if you don't, then all of your content, all of your hard work, you're leaving it in the hands of YouTube and Twitter, and they're willing to take and they're willing to take you down just because. And don't you think that at some point that you got to say enough of that?
I thought it was a long time ago it was enough of that.
No. I keep trying to, like I said before, earlier in the show, the struggle continues.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. And as long as you on their platforms, they're the ones, unfortunately, they're the ones pulling the strings. And so, oh my goodness, I could imagine if I were to do a broadcast on YouTube about doing a father's rights workshop, I would have to be worried that they'll take it down or shadow ban it.
Yeah, that's what I heard a white guy, Terrence Pop, talking about that kind of thing.
And if a white guy brings it up and he's nervous that he'll be shadow banned for doing something like that, then we don't stand a ghost of a chance, Sean.
He said that his channel, he was afraid of getting flagged and taken. He was just doing like comedy bits talking about how fathers are done and things. But if you get serious, it might even be worse.
What happened to freedom? I thought the internet was supposed to be about freedom on the information superhighway.
Well, it's freedom until you start speaking against certain topics, and that's when the leftists and some of the far right people get upset. When you start saying that, oh, I want to talk about fathers' rights, I want to start talking about women taking responsibility, that's when they start getting in their feelings. And if it's a black man starting to talk, they really start to get emotional.
Exactly. And then try to put it on you. Well, this doesn't meet the standards. Oh, what a joke.
Yeah, but those same standards, a person can sit there and talk bad about a man for hours on end. They can put all sorts of weird and bizarre content up there, and nobody has a problem.
Nobody has a problem at all. Look what happened to Kyrie Irving. Oh my goodness. And all he did was he posted a link, and YouTube was just letting people say all kinds of different disrespectful things to Kyrie.
But if you criticize a bad movie, then they want to cut the comments off.
Whoa, that happened to you about criticizing a bad movie?
No, it's happened to several Disney movies that got roasted where they cut the comments off. Disney cut the comments off.
Oh, wow.
And whenever Joker Joe comes on and he has to deal with a lot of backlash, they turn off the comments.
I'm glad. I'm glad that you here on the Nice Radio Network that you don't have to worry about that. And in fact, the next time, and you got my word on it, the next time YouTube decides to cut off one of your videos because they're in their feelings, you just send me that video and I'll get it put up on the Nice Radio Network. Because
I'll do that because what I do is I take videos, like I had one talking about how leftists were racist. They took it down for no reason at all. And I had to put that on BitChute, and I have to put it on other platforms because there was no profanity in it, but it just spoke against these white leftist narratives, and they didn't like it.
Oh, shame on you, Sean. You know you can't talk about you can't talk about the white left. They're supposed to be our friends. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. See how that turned out, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Bernie Sanders. Gosh, what? You know, I thought that guy was going to turn out to be. I thought that guy was going to turn out to be, you know, somebody special, but nope, he's part of the machine too.
Yeah, they're all bought and paid for.
All bought and paid for, and I, you know, I have a white buddy here in the desert, and I always tell him, I said, you know, they're gonna run out of. I said, maybe you don't understand how white supremacy works. When white supremacy runs out of black people to go after, they start coming after you next.
That's what I know. If they run out of black folks, they find the next thing to divide people with, because white supremacy is all about war, and war is a business for them. They operate on dividing and conquering people.
Mm-hmm. And white supremacy is also about, well, dominance. It's about being in the top 1%. And how did George Carlin put it? They have a club and you're not in it. Now, yep. We already know we're not in it, but there's a lot of white people that don't understand that they're not in it either.
No, nope, they're not in it.
And when you try to, no way, that there is no such thing as white supremacy. All said, oh, really? There's no such thing? Okay. Tell you what, go over Bill Gates' house and tell him and tell him that you want to question him about the COVID vaccine and see what happens to you. Yeah. Oh, you know, you don't know? Ask Julian Assange. See what happens. See what's going on with him. He's a perfect example of white supremacy eating its own.
Yep.
I mean, there's people just don't understand that nowadays, and that's why every Wednesday when you listen to the Chris and Company radio show, it is all about it is about the stories and current events that are going on around us from a black man's point of view, because things are getting very, very serious. And when white supremacy starts closing its ranks on each other, then that means that it's a zero-sum game for us. And either you start listening to gentlemen, either black folks start listening to people like you and me and the professor and Jason Black and Tariq, or you're going to be lost, or you just going to be left behind. Because these guys ain't playing, they're not playing no more. The oligarchs, the mainstream media, they're letting it be known that what they say matter and what you say is just a bunch of words. I remember somebody telling me that, well, Chris, when you speak on that microphone, your words are power. Well, if that be the case, then the power must turn into action. And so until my words turns into actions, I'ma just keep on speaking truth to power.
Yeah.
Because that's what we have. I just want to give you. I also want to give you a preview. I'm going to be doing another company commentary, and the company commentaries are going to be constantly in rotation. So you go on to niceradionetwork.com. You go to the homepage and you listen to Now Playing. And the Now Playing, when you click on the Now Playing page, and that's when you click on the player at the bottom, you'll listen, you'll be able to hear the company commentaries. And one of the company commentaries that I'm going to be talking about next is something that Marcellus Wiley said about speaking truth to power. And he made a comment talking about, people love speaking truth to power until it affects them. And I said, really? So you don't think that a black man can speak truth to power in the streets or in a particular room and not mean what he say and say what he mean? Really? Is that so? And here's the thing about Marcellus Wiley. He just got fired from Fox Sports. So now he's another one of these Roland Martin types that was on mainstream media and now can think that he can transcend that over to internet media, because I'm Marcellus Wiley and I was on ESPN and I was on Fox News, and he's going to find out that this is a totally different world. And so that's going to be my next company commentary coming up. I can't do it tomorrow, but I would say I might work on it. I would say either Sunday or Monday. And when I'm done with it, I'll put a link on my Twitter and I'll put a link on my Facebook about it. But yeah.
That's what I'm seeing. A lot of these old legacy media types are having problems transitioning to new black media. And that's something that I find to be very interesting. These guys, they know how to bootlick and tell the mainstream people what they want to hear. But when they get over to new black media, they find the audience just ain't listening to them.
Right. Because in their minds, they don't really take digital media seriously, Sean. So what they'll do is, well, I'll do an internet radio show for a while in hopes of getting Fox Sports attention or ESPN's attention or CBS Sports attention or whatever. And they're hoping that somebody will pick up and parlay their little internet show into something mainstream. So that's what these guys do. That's why Roland Martin, he don't really get slick with the tongue all like that until he's talking to us, to us B10 content creators. Right. But as soon as Tucker Carlson calls or Joy Reid called, boy, he's right there front and center. Him, Miles, Eric Dumbass, him, the Lamont, you big dummy Hill. These guys use digital media to try as a launching pad to get back into the mainstream network circles. And then when those mainstream network circles ain't really feeling them all like that, then they want to come talk crap to us. And then they think they want to give smoke to us. And then that's when the humiliation and the embarrassment happens to those kind of guys. Because Roland, Miles, Eric Dyson, and Lamont, these guys don't speak for us, Sean.
No, they don't
speak for us. Because they're not trying to get the average black man, black woman who's been in the struggle to to listen to them because they think they're better than the average black man and black woman.
And they're just looking for their it back in with these white folks.
And
And again, they're just looking for back in. They create a covert contract where they go online, they create a show, hoping to get viewers, and then hoping that this will eventually get them another job. I mean, Professor Black Truth has talked about this, and I have seen it myself. This is why these guys get no traction, because everybody sees how fake they are.
right, exactly. And see, that's the thing. You know, I'm a father, so I understand what it's like being a black father. I'm a veteran, served during. I am a desert. I am a desert. I heard something in the background, but yeah, I'm a Desert Storm era veteran. All right, facts. I've been through that. No, I was married, divorced. Now I'm in a loving relationship now, and so I've been through these things, you know, and I've put together a broadcasting company from the ground up. My mother, God rest her soul, she had her own business. She had a beautician's license for years, and then she went back to barber college, got that license. So what did she do? She opened up her own shop, and she had her own business for 25 years. So how can I not have that spirit? How can I not have that entrepreneurial spirit? My sweetie poo, her father owned his own business for the longest of time. He had a skycap business in Portland. And it's funny because I'd asked her one time, I said, what makes you so appealing? How do I appeal to you so much? And she said, you have the same spirit my father has. Now, her parents are still together for years. They've been together for, I don't know, man, what 40 years, I think. And he had his own business, and now he's retired. And now now she's with the guy who has his own business, retired. And I'm doing pretty good for myself. And now it's amazing the dynamic of when a man of myself meets a woman who came from a nuclear family, and now she's learned from that nuclear family and now has brought it into our relationship and how well we get along. It's priceless. It's priceless.
And it just shows how when you have a woman who grows up in a healthy environment, she will find a quality man and stick with him.
Right. Because it's not because of the fact of what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
And to the fact that, and you don't go from, I just moved from another part of the country. You don't do that unless you don't have. I could not be here if I didn't have my shit together, Sean. Do you understand that? There's no way I could do this. And I sure as hell couldn't do it if I was a guy that had his hand out. You best believe when I made my transition out here in the desert, I had to have my act together. And I did. And now I'm letting brothers know, if you are a nice guy and you got your shit together, that you are the prize. You are a winner. Nice guys do finish first, but it's men like me that need to let them know that they finish first. Goddamn right. Nice guys do finish first. They just got to believe in themselves. They have to have the confidence, the courage, and a set of balls to set the bevel standard that I'm not going to take no crap from the white man, and I'm not going to take no crap from some gynocentric modern woman hoe. Put your foot down. There's a saying, that the Undertaker said. Sometimes you got to go through hell to get to heaven. Well, guess what? In order to be nice guys, going to have to go through a little bit of hell to find their heaven.
They got to have the resolve to keep pushing in that hell.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem with a lot of these guys today. They don't have no resolve. They don't have the resolve to keep pushing and persevering. That's a problem I've been seeing with a lot of dudes out here. The minute they run into an obstacle, they start falling apart, or they start falling for gimmicks instead of them keep pushing and persevering.
Yes, absolutely. And you know who? And you know what, Sean? It'd be some of my friends that say, "Hey, Chris, man, your problem is that just because it worked for you, that don't mean it's going to work for the next guy." How do you handle that? I've had that said to me because I have the will and the drive to refuse to lose.
That's the way I was with SJS Direct. I mean, I had to take a lot of L's to get it where I want it, where it is now, and I had to work with God to get it to where it is now. Again, you just got to keep taking the L's until you get to the W.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a learning curve with everything, and sometimes you just got to learn the lessons. And you, as you learn, you're building up your character, you're building up your resolve. This is something a lot of guys, they don't really get.
They don't, because a lot of it's sad. Another brother will be mad at me and be wanting to fight me because we disagree, but they won't have that same fight when it comes to the system that we're in. It's amazing. I don't believe me. Let's take Shannon Sharp, for instance. He had all that smoke for Ja Morant's father at that basketball game. But he went out like a punk ass bitch when it came to Skip. And then Skip told him to put his glasses back on. He should have walked off that set. And he should have told him, "I'm not coming back out here until you respect me as a man." But he never did.
That's why he lost face. No one respects him.
Right. You'll go after you go show out at a basketball game against another brother, and the man was defending his son. I don't blame him. If my son was out there playing basketball, and Shen is such a LeBron James ass kisser, and I'm not even a LeBron fan, and I'm from Cleveland. All right, and so he's so busy up LeBron's Kulu, he out there barking on the floor, and it's like, hold on, man, you ain't talking about my son like that. I don't blame what Ja Morant's father did. Had that been my son, I would have confronted Shannon too. I don't care who you barking at, but you're not going to bark at my son, because we can take this out in the street. Like, sometimes you want to have that energy. Have that energy for Skip when he tells you to put your glasses back on. And you better put them glasses back on, boy, because that's basically what he said to him, Sean.
Yeah, he emasculated him.
Yeah, he emasculated
him. You should have checked him right there.
And then Skip has yet to even apologize for what he said. That's what you talk about, problematic issues. If Sean, I'm telling you, man, if you disagree with something that I said, it don't have to be on no doggone show. I'll give you my phone number. We could do a private Zoom and we could air it out and talk it out like men.
That's the way men are supposed to do things in private. We don't do things in public and embarrass ourselves.
And Shannon, all of that. Listen, man. The problem with Shannon is he's all about style. He's not about substance. And when you're not about substance, you're not going to be taken seriously. So you okay, all right, you got the look, you look good, you work out and all of that, but you've got a man that's not even twice your size. he just pimped you like a pimp to a prostitute. And he never said sorry. Skip has never said sorry. And those are the images. That's what we're up against, Sean. That's what we're up against.
Yep.
And so, we I've got work to do. You've got work, hey, you're doing the work. I've got work to do. And, like I said, niceradio.com it's going to grow. It's going to expand. It's going to blossom. And from blogs to archive broadcasts to listen to the company commentaries that are in rotation, there's going to be, and also the new music channel that I'm going to be putting together. There's going to be something in it for everyone, Now, and let me, I got to put in this reminder because I don't want. Well, as a white person, you mean I can't listen to it? But yes, you can. Okay, this is pro-black doesn't mean anti-white. Let me just get that out there. But if we don't talk about these things, then who will? If we don't control the narrative, if we don't counteract the mainstream media mafia's narrative, then who will? Black folks, we should be. What is those racist terms that anti-black folks like to say? Well, they need to get themselves by the bootstraps, and they need to tie themselves up by the bootstraps. Okay, I got the boots and I got the straps. You are we okay now? I mean, it's just amazing, man. It's amazing. Just even in the little things, that what we got to do to get to that, that level playing field. And whether it was, because I'm telling you, man, for me to get to where I'm at, in order for me to have gotten to where I'm at today, I had to establish custody of my son. I had to fight the government to get my veterans benefits. Took me over 20 years to get that. All right. I had to overcome those two. When I got custody of my son, and I went to I tried to get better housing for ourselves, because at the time financially things were still tight. Oh man, I got all kinds of dumb questions, Sean. Well, do you have custody papers of your son? Yeah. Okay. Do you have his shot records? Yeah. Do you have his transcript from school? Yes, I've got all of that. Not one time those intake women ever asked one of those bastard baby making broads those questions. Just me as a man. That's what I've been through, Sean. And
they give black men a hard time.
Yeah.
I know from experience. Yeah. They want you to have all these references for a job and all this other stuff, but white woman comes in, black woman comes in, no answer, no questions, no paperwork.
Sean, there was one time and this is way back in the day, there was nothing recent, where I tried to apply for EBT stamp because I had two jobs and I literally did not have any spare money. And so I can't believe she literally looked up and she saw the job that I was working for, right? So she wrote down all the information, and I was like, why are you writing down the information to my job? You know what she told me? Instead of doing my intake, she was taking down the information of my job because she was trying to help somebody else get one. I can't make this stuff up. I said, excuse me? She said, oh yeah, I know somebody who's looking for a job and I think they might want to work here. I said, ma'am, I'm here. I'm trying to get some help. Yeah, but I know somebody who's trying to get. Do you know how angry I was? Could you imagine how angry I was?
Wasn't thinking about you, was all about her.
Yeah, yeah. Tacky, trifling, hair, fake hair all the way down to her neck, fingernails where the bitch could barely type, smacking and chewing her gum, and acting like it was her money. I'll never forget those days, Sean, because I'm not going back. Number one. And number two, for any brother that's out here listening to what I'm saying right now that's been through that, you are not alone.
And that's what brothers need to hear.
Absolutely. Not, not hyperbole. Not, well, I don't have any kids, but I'm a father figure. No, 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 no. No, no. I am a father. I have a 27-year-old daughter. I have a 24-year-old son. No, I am not, you know, and I have plenty nieces and nephews. Like I said, I've been an uncle since I was 6 years old. And so I've been an uncle for a long time. And before I raised my children, I raised a third of them. My oldest nephew, my oldest nephew is 6 years younger than me. And he still calls me Uncle Chris. You know why? Because of out of respect. And that's how the name Mr. Chris stuck. And that's the thing. We need to get back to respecting one another as brothers. We need to get back to respecting what we bring, how we can help each other instead of you know of what you got and who and what what you got and how you got it and all this. No, 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 no. Because remember, what we have today could be taken away from us tomorrow. You saw what happened to Kevin Samuels.
Yeah.
So we need to get busy living by leaving a legacy for our children, family members, young men out there that need to hear our voices. We need to get busy doing that right now. And leave all the egos and all that stuff, leave all that behind.
That's what they used to teach us when I was working at Strive. You got to leave your ego at the door so you can get where you want to go.
But it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to find like-minded brothers like ourselves because we suffer from ego starvation.
Yeah.
And so, it's just it's a juggling act. Well, my oldest brother's just super nice, man, and he's a pushover. No, I'm not a pushover. I'm a man. I am a responsible, grown ass black man, and I will be treated as such, and I will not tolerate anything else or less. That doesn't mean that I can't give that same respect to anyone else. This is what this is why we've been talking for almost 2 hours, because for the simple fact that maybe one day I'll fly out to New York City and meet you, or you fly out to the desert and meet me. Well, but in the meantime, let's collaborate. Let's collaborate on projects. Let's work together. So you can you can build your numbers up. I can build my numbers up, and then we can build together.
Yeah.
And then be like,
that's
hey,
what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing for the last 2, 3, 4 years. Just working with different brothers, collaborating with different brothers, trying to work towards building things. And that's what I want to see done on New Black Media, because the more of us working together, the more we can change the narrative as related to Black people, the more we can change how people perceive Black people. That's something I'm trying to do, and that's why I'm so behind the Nice Radio Network. That's why I wanted to have you on the air tonight, so that you could let everybody know what your mission is and what you're trying to do with Nice Radio Network and the content you're producing. I wanted everybody to know what you're doing. That's why I gave you tonight to talk on the platform.
And I appreciate that, Sean. I want to read if I can get to it, I want to read the mission statement of Nice Radio, and because it's an bandwidth lead. Okay, I don't know what happened here, but I wanted to read the mission statement real quick. Hold on.
All right.
Okay, here we go. All right. I don't know what's going on with my website, but I mean, but basically, the mission statement is about bringing, having a community, bringing together a community of like-minded brothers and sisters that want progress, and that's very important because we all we got, man.
Yeah, we are all we have.
We are all we got, and if we don't do something, if we don't come together and start working together, we're gonna have there's gonna be some problems, man. I it's funny, well, not funny, but you see a lot of these white supremacist groups, like Proud Boys and stuff like that. They're working together behind the scenes, and they're trying to counteract. They're trying to counteract what we're doing, and they have the unfortunately, they have the YouTubes on their side. Now, YouTube might take down one of their streams, but for every 2 or 3 black streams for every one stream that they're taking down on some white supremacist dude spewing anti-black racism, they're taking down 3 of ours. Yours, Professor Black Truth. I think even Torian Rain got hit one time.
There was a time in April 2022 they were just attacking everyone. And then people started calling it out, and then they started to back off.
But why did it have to come to that? What? I mean, that's insane. Why did it have to come to that? It took people to raise hell to say, oh, well, we just can't have, we just can't keep Sean James' account down. We got to bring it back up. It should have to come to that. So, I'm surprised nobody's never marched at YouTube headquarters. They're in Silicon Valley. Their headquarters is in Silicon Valley, by the way, in California. But I'm surprised. I'm surprised nobody went over there and just started raising hell.
No, there was a class action lawsuit, and that's when they backed off the first time. And
really?
Yeah, it was in the early gender war days. They were flagging and taking down people like Mr. Superboy, a guy named Dan Freeman, Rich Scorpio. And it got so bad that black men came together and started filing a lawsuit. And then all of a sudden they backed off. But they've been just going after black channels for some time. And that's why we got to have our own platform. So I want everybody to know about the Nice Radio Network. And I want everybody to know when you're going to be putting on shows. So when do you put on shows regularly?
Every Wednesday, 1 o'clock Mountain Time. So what I do is I pretty much advertise it 12 noon to 3 p.m., 12 noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. And so that's when I'm on the air, because if I just put 1 p.m. Mountain Time, that may confuse people. So I just because there's 4 time zones here in the United States, I just cover 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern time.
So that's the time everybody can tune in, is Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern.
Yep, 3 p.m. Eastern. If you're on the East Coast, that's 3 p.m. If you're in Central Time, that's 2 o'clock. Mountain Time, 1, and Pacific Time, 12 noon.
Well, that's great because I want everybody to tune in on Chris's show. I mean, I'm glad to have him on the show tonight. I want to thank you, Chris, for coming on tonight. We had a really great stream tonight. Everybody, I think, really enjoyed tonight's stream. So I really want to thank you for coming on tonight because I'm going to get ready to wrap up tonight's stream.
Oh, yeah.
Because like 1 o'clock here in New York City,
Yeah.
1 a.m. This is the longest show I've done in a long time. But I just had a great conversation today and really enjoyed talking to you, Chris. And I want everybody, before I wrap up the show, I want everybody to pick up some of the books on Amazon because I'm having a really slow month that's related to book sales.
Mhm.
So it would be greatly appreciated if you guys would head over to Amazon and pick up some of the books in the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, or some of the men's issues books that I talk about, like Stop Simping and the Man Crisis and the Woman Crisis. So I really want to thank Chris for taking the time to spend with me tonight for tonight's really great show. I mean, we had a great audience, had a really good time. Everybody was connecting. So I want to thank Chris for coming on, and I hope to have him back maybe one day soon.
Yeah, definitely, man. And then also, I'd like for you to come back, Chris and company. I'd like to make you a member of the company, and and so then hey, let people know to check you out too, and let people know to check out Sean James on YouTube, and also your blog on the blog page of Nice Radio Network. And also from his blog page, you can click onto the Woman Crisis book, and it'll take you right over to Amazon.com, and you can check out his other books that he also has for sale.
All right. Well, thank you for all that, Chris. Really glad to have you on tonight. And I hope everybody comes out to next week's stream. Everybody, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. And I hope you all will be there for next week's stream next Friday.
All right.
Everybody, I'm getting ready to wrap it up.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Getting ready to close it up. So I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. And I hope you'll be there next Friday night for next week's stream.